every real estate agent should have a farm area. They absolutely just, I don't care if it's where you live, it's better if it is, but you need to have your area of expertise in your community because that's where your bread and butter is. It's where you're farming. I mean, I would do newsletters. I would do everything. My farm would be my baby. That is my database. You can pick your database right now as a real estate agent. Just go grab a map of your city, get a red marker and circle it and say, this is now officially my database. That's your farm.
All right. So hello there, LabCoatAgents. I'm Shawn Kerley here with none other than Brian Stevens with the National Real Estate Post. And I always start this out as if you do not have the NREP app on your mobile device, go to your app store and download it. Watch Frank and Brian give you guys some nuggets every single day. I've been watching for 10 plus years. Love it. And Brian, how are we doing today?
Doing good. By the way, I was not flashing gang signals. That was sign language, NREP.
NREP.
P's are in the house.
So last time we talked, we were talking about how the CFPB came out with such polite verbiage to all the servicers on you better be doing right to the clients because we feel that there's a bunch of foreclosures coming, but we have no idea how you're going to do it, but be really, really nice or we're going to come after you kind of thing. Then FHA does not lower their MI, but they have 7 times the amount of money that they really should have or 7% over what they should really have. Why are they not lowering MI? Now, Genworth, an MI company on the conventional side for Fannie Freddie that insures mortgages for people that put less than 20% down, they were going to go public and basically go public to where it raise a bunch of cash. Well, from your research, you were saying that the offering wasn't going to go as well as expected, or actually was going to be abysmal because Wall Street didn't like betting on a mortgage insurance company. Why? What's the reasoning? Why are they fearful of a lot of foreclosures now? And do we really care?
Yeah, Wall Street has no appetite for it, right? For MI companies, you're writing mortgage insurance policies. Wall Street's looking at this stuff and saying, I don't know if that's a really good bet right now. I'd rather invest in Dogecoin, which I don't know if you're aware of this, is literally a picture of a dog.
Yes.
You're investing in a picture, not a currency, a picture that was created as a joke. That right now is doing better than an actual mortgage insurance company, which is kind of a trip. But here's how you have to see this, is Wall Street is kind of like the odds makers for our economy, aren't they? Now, when you look at the odds makers in Vegas, when it comes down to like a line on a football game, it is remarkable how often they're accurate. I mean, down to within a point, it is remarkable. And Wall Street is kind of like the odds makers for what's going on in our industry. And what they're doing right now is they're taking a big old pass on Genworth, mortgage insurance company right now. Why are they doing that? Well, for the same thing that they're seeing the same things that we're seeing right now, which is, this hyperbolic language from the CFPB coming out and telling our servicers, you better not foreclose on these darn people out here. They're seeing the same thing from Marsha Fudge over at HUD with the FHA. And saying, no, hold on, hang tight. We're going to hold on to the 3 times plus amount of money that Congress is requiring us to hold on to because we still don't have enough money to face a wave of foreclosures on par with what happened in 2008. And we are concerned that possibly could be coming. We're not saying it is definitely coming, but it certainly is in the conversation. And that's the problem, that all of this is in the conversation. We have twice as many people not making payments right now, as we talked about before, as during the 2008 meltdown, the lead up to the 2008 meltdown. Twice as many people are not making their payments. The truth of the matter is, nobody truly understands what tomorrow holds. We don't get that. Like, nobody gets it. Our economy, there's a lot of questions that are outstanding there. Housing, there's questions that are outstanding there. And even our ability to, open up our economy 100%. With the whole COVID thing, there's still questions there. There are people who say they know what's going on, but nobody truly understands what's going to happen in 6 months, just like we didn't know it was going to happen a year ago. So yeah, there's a lot of concern that's going on right now. But if you think about these LabCoatAgents interviews that we've been doing now for the past month, we've been building a pretty compelling story, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
So these are topics that we keep building on, and it's week after week after week. What we're doing is getting more anecdotal evidence of more, decision makers, policy makers, and soothsayers in the real estate and lending community who are saying, wait a minute, we don't know if we like what's happening right now, and we are concerned about the future of real estate and the possible slowdown on a large level. That's what we're looking at right now. So yes, what happened is Genworth just had a absolute terrible time with their IPO, and then just even today, or maybe it was last Friday, Compass, the real estate company,
Mm-hmm.
they just came out and what the $221 million loss in the first quarter of 2021 and $155 million loss in the first quarter of 2020. They had a $455 million IPO, which is half of what they thought they were going to get. And it's probably twice as much as what it's going to be worth here in a couple of months. So there are concerns. There are unanswered questions in real estate and lending right now. The truth is, the best way for us to avoid a massive slowdown in real estate is, again, this is going to be kicking that dead horse time and time again, is for real estate agents to get to these people who potentially could foreclose before they foreclose. Because as we spoke about before from a study from Congress, it costs $78,000 to go through with a foreclosure. So you might have a whole bunch of equity, but just watch how quick those who are initiating that foreclosure are going to burn through your equity. They're going to burn through it to the tune of almost $80,000 on average, and this is according to the United States Congress. So if real estate agents can get to these people and get them to sell their house, but last resort, honestly, is a modification because that's going to show up on your credit. Last resort is a short sale. Double last resort is a foreclosure. If real estate agents can mobilize in communities all across the country and get to these folks who aren't making their payments, get them to sell their house, pocket that equity, realize it right now, stash it away for a rainy day when their income stabilizes and the economy starts to turn back around. Truth is, if you own a house right now, I want you to think about this. There's a lot of concern that maybe, all graphs do this. We talk about it all the time. Every graph, it's widgets, bananas, houses, cars, gas, it doesn't matter, employment, inflation, they all go up and down. That's what they all do. And we are way up right now. If you looked at your house as an investment, potentially, why not sell it right now and rent for a year? Why not? Our property value is going to keep going at this torrent pace, almost directly vertical? Or is it going to stabilize, and could it marginally come down a little bit? Because again, we talked about this before. The median income borrower cannot afford the median income in any community in the United States right now. That's a scary stat for you. Yeah. So would it not be a good idea to treat your house almost like a stock and to sell it right now and turn around and maybe buy your house 2 years from now for 75 cents on the dollar? Food for thought.
A great investment if you're logically thinking about it, but who wants to move so many times and move all your crap? So that's the only sticking point for me.
Well, that's a bigger one. That's what me and my wife argue about all the time. Yeah. See, I think we need less crap.
Yeah.
She thinks we need more crap. It's very weird, very peculiar. Yeah. I tell my wife, just because we have a shelf does not mean you need to put something on every inch of it. You don't need to.
Yeah.
You could, you know what wicker is?
Yes.
Wicker and raffia, whatever they call that stuff. It's like a Motel 6 for spiders. So if you have like all that, all that campy kind of stuff in your house, all that wicker and raffia type of stuff, all it is for dust bunnies and spiders. Got to get rid of it.
Or the garage sale. You always want to hoard everything for the garage sale.
Exactly.
And the last check, your dog coin Doge is only up 420% in the last 90 days. So yes, baffling. I'll be honest with you.
It's a picture.
I have a small taste and I'm loving the ride. Just keep on going up to the moon.
Oh God, it's so crazy, isn't it? Right. It's so insane. Cryptocurrencies right now, I'll tell you what, I really do think, kind of on a side note to get in the weeds here for a second, but cryptocurrencies do make more sense than paper currency in so many different fashions. I went up today to go get a shell for my truck in beautiful Redding, California. That was a joke, by the way. You've never been to Redding, you won't get it. But you go up there and the guy's like, hey, so it's going to be $1,500 cash, or it's going to be $1,900 if you want to use a check or a card. I'm like, all right, well, I'll give you cash for it. Well, it's just to avoid taxes. Everybody knows that. We want to shore up right now our budget in the state of California, any state, but definitely the state of California. We want to shore up our deficit nationally. All we have to do is go to 75% of the restaurants in this country. The ones where they have the cash register like this, and then over on the side, they got the little calculator, and they're always using the little calculator, not the big cash register. They're doing that, my friends, to avoid taxes. So having something where you're paying and you could see a receipt of it at least going in makes more sense. I think a lot of these cryptocurrencies, one of them has to stick. Don't you think so?
Yeah, you would think so for sure. I don't know. It's a completely shift in mindset as far as being able to count something, or if this thing's going to go up or down. Where if I have $100 in the bank, I'm going to have $100 tomorrow. So that's the only thing that scares a lot of folks. But let's get back.
Okay, sounds good.
So bubble or not to bubble? We in a bubble here? What's going on? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it seems to me something's got to give.
Yeah.
Just from a practical standpoint, we can get caught up in the minutia, but from a practical standpoint, again, you're a civil servant in any community cannot afford to live in a community that they service. That's a problem. That's never been the case before. So that is a problem. And by the way, another thing, so I went to go, when I bought my shell, I also built out some stuff. I had to go buy some wood. Went down, I bought a 8-foot 2x4. It was $8.
$8?
It was $8 for one 2x4. That's usually about $1.15, $1.20. It was $8 for one not even a big one. It's called OSB. OSB is kind of like that particle board wood. It's what they use to basically roof houses. They used to use plywood, but they quit using plywood because OSB is cheaper. It's just the piece stuff that's glued and slammed together.
It's all glued together. Yeah.
OSB is more expensive than plywood right now. There's a huge cost associated with everything right now. And I got news for you guys. It doesn't have a whole bunch to do with COVID, outside of the fact that we've been spending a whole bunch of money to support businesses over the past 13 or 14 months. It's really called inflation right now. Inflation is massive. If you look at the Federal Reserve and their balance sheet, the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve is nothing but their assets versus their liabilities. The liabilities of the Federal Reserve is all the money that they don't have. Like money in my pocket right now. Like this $20 bill is a liability to the Federal Reserve because I have it. They don't have it. Their assets is the money that they do carry right now. Okay. Now, if you look at the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve in 2008 and all the time prior to 2008, their balance sheet was zero. There was no reason for the feds to have a balance sheet. It didn't even make sense. Now we have a balance of $7.81 million. $8 billion just over the course of a few years. And that balance continues to go up. So the balance sheet going up is all we're doing, if you think about it in those terms, is putting more money into circulation. Every dollar we put into circulation dilutes the dollar that you have in your pocket. You create 20 more dollars. My $20 bill just became worth $10 in terms of spending ability, right? So inflation is a big concern. We're seeing it at the pump right now. We're seeing it in the form of wood. We're seeing it in the cost of houses. And if interest rates go up, that effectively works as a form of inflation. The other thing that the Fed has been doing right now to try to keep the economy going, and they've been doing this in some way, shape, or form since 2008, is quantitative easing. Now, what quantitative easing is it's the Fed buying our own debt. So rather than selling our debt to foreign, countries or selling it off into your IRA or your 401k or whatever that is, it's the Fed, it's the United States government purchasing the United States government debt, which is also something that spurs inflation. And we've been doing a lot of quantitative easing as of late, and we've been putting a whole bunch of money back into the economy, and that's a reason why I have to go buy an 8-foot 2x4 and it cost me $8, not $1.25. I don't see how we reverse course on this anytime soon or very quickly. And I know if the cost of goods for everything goes up across the board, it is going to put the brakes on our economy right now. I'm not an economist, but pragmatically looking at this thing from 30,000 feet, you got to think that something eventually has got to give. We cannot continue spending money like drunk sailors, can we? There has to be a point where we have to go back to something that resembles, even in any way, shape, or form, some type of fiscal responsibility, because right now all I see personally is irresponsible spending. I mean, out here in California, we had a $78 billion surplus, and they're talking about giving that back to everybody right now. They're talking about a fourth round of stimulus is out here in California. And we have 3 communities that pay people cash money, folding money, just to wake up and get out of bed, not perform any job or any duty. And it's this mindset that concerns me. So yeah, I do think there is going to be some type of wind down or some type of reset. The question we have to ask ourselves is it a good thing or a bad thing from a real estate agent's perspective, from a lender's perspective? And it's the case with most things. There are always winners and losers, aren't there? And so, all right, we get a whole bunch of houses again, we spoke about this ad nauseum, a whole bunch of houses get foreclosed on. That stinks if you owned the house. But I'll tell you right now, that's a great opportunity for one of the millions and millions of ready, able-bodied buyers who are waiting in the wings who want to buy a house. Mm-hmm. And so for real estate agents, nabbing those listings, getting to these people before their house goes into a short or foreclosure situation, listing the properties, actually helping your community and helping these folks out is a great thing. And, I just spoke with a lender out in North Carolina. He said he's got 45 borrowers approved sitting in his pipeline. 45.
Yep.
Like 40, that's a good year for most people. He's got 45 pre-approved people. How many real estate agents have 5 or 6 pre-approved people in their pocket? How many real estate agents right now, think about this. How many real estate agents have 4 or 5 buyers in their pocket, and they wake up in the morning and they say, okay, I got to go show houses. I'm going to go get one of my 4 or 5 buyers. I'm going to drive them around all day. I'm going to write 2 or 3 offers. They're all going to get rejected. They're going to get frustrated. I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to go to the next person and show them how, like this vicious, ugly cycle right now. From a real estate agent's perspective, here's what I would do. I would go out there and find the damn listing. Screw the buyers, not literally or figuratively. I mean, forget about the buyers for a minute. That's a better way of putting it. Go find the listing and then present the listing to the buyers, not the other way around. Don't take the buyers, these massive group of buyers, and introduce them to the listing. Definite article, the one listing where your offer is diluted amongst 50,000 other people. From a real estate agent standpoint, rather than driving around day after day and writing offers that are not going to get accepted, use that time, that energy, and that bandwidth to go find the listings and then present that listing to the buyers.
So yeah, and some of the stats that's crazy to where this is an easy conversation. And I always keep on comparing everything in 2008, 2010 as far as what we think might be coming. We're 180 degrees out from where people were way underwater, where people are up in the clouds right now. So March 2021, hottest market ever. 43% of all homes that went under contract went over list. 43%. That is crazy to me. Median sales price went up $35,000 from 12 months ago. So you mean to tell me that the house that was worth X just 12 months ago, you got $35,000 more in equity, or because that these buyers are coming over list? Have you ever seen anything like this? I mean, it's just nuts. So to get back to my point, it's an easy conversation to where if I go to you, Brian, saying, you just your CRM touch, just checking in on you and just tell you these stats. I mean, this should build excitement for people that are relocating or that need to get rid of the house, or unfortunately, if somebody lost their job. Easy combo on how to help out their situation, good or bad. So, I mean, I don't know. I've never seen this. What about you?
Well, nobody has. Superlatives. Nobody has. March was the hottest market in the history of real estate in the United States. So nobody has seen it before. Mm-hmm. Absolutely nobody has seen it before. But kind of like the what year was it, Ken? Was it like the 2012 Patriots, the 17 and so? You know what I mean? Listen, when markets are this hot, there's really only one way to go, isn't there? I don't want to be henny penny or spell doom and gloom, because I'm not. I think there's incredible and wonderful opportunities in this market, but we just have to be smart about where the opportunities lie. We have to be able to read the tea leaves of the market and what the future holds. It's not getting more buyers. Quit showing buyers houses. What's the point in doing that? It's a waste of time. This market is as hot as it's ever been. What does that tell you pragmatically? It tells me that it's probably going to cool down. Where and how is it going to cool down? Well, there's a number of areas it could possibly hit, but I'm not certainly sure of any one of them. And anyone who tells you they are is they're just projecting. They don't know either. But it stands to reason that after we've accelerated this long, this hard, and gone this high, that we're going to have some type of correction. How big and when it happens, we simply don't know. It's the same thing. Like, you ever have a really bad day and before you go to bed, you're just like, well, you know what? The good news is it can't get any worse. Tomorrow's going to get better. It's the same thing with hot markets. I mean, something has to give. And again, that's why reading the tea leaves, understanding the direction of the market, realizing that there might be a slowdown, because here's what happens. And me and you are in the same boat. I keep going back to 2006, 7, 8, and 9, and 10, like that area. Mm-hmm. And I use that as a gauge as far as what's going on right now. And it is interesting how they keep referring to 2021 as 2006. Have you noticed like how many articles are drawing parallels to 2021 to 2006, which was the lead up to that type of thing. Mm-hmm. But we have to understand where the market is going, don't we, in order to make the informed decisions. Think about this as a real estate agent. If the market goes down, is that a bad thing? Again, for some it is, for others it isn't. But what happened in 2006, 7, and 8 was, well, especially in 2007, like late 2007, was truly the house of cards. When we first started getting listings and we saw that first little, kind of shimmy in the market where we dipped down a little bit, it's like everybody collectively freaked out, and it was a run on the banks, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We went from like, oh my God, this could get really bad. So let's ensure that happens by all listing our houses at the same time, effectively tanking every market across the country. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it does stand to reason that there is going to be some type of shift in the future. And again, I don't even think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, since we're not going to catch up with the number of houses that need to be built in the next 2 or 3 years to dig us out of this inventory crisis. The only way that we could really look for some type of relief in inventory is with existing inventory, existing homes. That's where you're going to find it. So I don't even necessarily think it's a bad thing.
Well, and with that, you were talking about a BPO strategy, because you're right. If I'm a real estate agent, for me to control when I get paid is I control that if I have a listing. If I have 100 buyers, I have no idea whenever I'm getting a paycheck. But if I have 20 listings, that you're getting paid 30, 45 days, if not sooner. So with that, you were talking about a BPO strategy that may be a little labor intensive. You're going to have to do some work, but the juice is definitely well worth the squeeze. You want to roll through that real quick?
Yeah. And I'm going to be doing a webinar on this, and we'll certainly be doing it with you guys as well. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be doing a webinar explaining this in more detail, but I'll give you the gist of it. As I've said before, I think it was 79% of people a couple of years ago thought it was a good time to sell their house. Those numbers have certainly increased. A lot of people right now understand what their houses are worth, kind of. Like it used to be for years, for basically the history of real estate is, I think my house is worth this. Every appraiser thinks my house is worth this. This has always been, the tug of war in real estate. I think my house is worth more than what it is. And then we saw this really weird anomaly a number of years ago where people, like the value of what they thought their house was worth and what the actual value was, these two lines, they intersected. And it was like, wow, so buyers actually have a reasonable understanding of what their house is worth. That makes it easier for listing presentations for real estate agents. Okay. Now we've had something that I only saw once again in the lead up to 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Where houses are actually worth more than what homeowners understand. This very seldom does this happen. So you go to your average homeowner, what's your house worth? Oh, my house is worth $325,000. In a normal market, I would tell you, no, your house is worth $300,000. In this market, I'm saying your house is worth $370,000. So if you think it's a good time to sell and your house is actually worth more than what you think it is, then doesn't logic dictate that as a real estate agent, a salesperson, what you need to do is get that information in front of people who own homes?
Mhm.
All right. Yes, they think it's a good time to sell. They have a lowball understanding of what their property is worth. If I actually told you your house is worth $40,000, $50,000 more than what you think it's worth, would that incentivize you to go ahead and list your house and go ahead and move up and buy a bigger, better house? Which, by the way, moving up is always moving into a softer market. It always is. Your entry-level homes are the ones that are always going to be selling like hotcakes because nobody makes an 1,800 square foot house anymore. So really, it's just all comes down to messaging. How do I get that message in front of people who I know, statistically speaking, would list their house with me at a higher ratio than in any market that we've possibly ever been in? That's where we're at right now. But people are waiting right now because there's so much, the unknown is so massive. It's a vast expanse, right? Isn't it? We just don't know, and we're concerned. And if we don't look at real estate all day, every day, as your typical homeowner, it's just easier for us to nest and hang tight until things start to stabilize. Unless you get a real estate agent knock on your door and says your house is worth $50,000 more than what it is. Here's the problem. How do we get this message out to people? So as a real estate agent, I could call somebody and say, hi, my name is Brian Stevens with ABC Real Estate. And, I noticed that you're a homeowner and I was wondering if you're interested in listing your home. Hello? You know what I mean? Like, that message doesn't appeal to anybody, It's a sales pitch. Nobody likes to be sold. Everyone likes to buy. What if I could call that person and say, hey, listen, I'm a local real estate agent. I'm right over here at the intersection of Merchant and Alamo Street, right next to Pietro's. Pietro's 1. Now, I'm saying Pietro's 1 because what that does is it gives me a level of geographical competence.
Mhm.
And Pietro's is a restaurant in Vacaville. Everybody knows it and everybody likes it. So that is guilt by association, right? Isn't it?
Mhm.
I'm saying Pietro's, something that I'm banking whoever I'm talking to from Vacaville likes Pietro's like I do, and I'm finding common ground. I'm turning myself into a human from them. Yeah, I'm a local real estate agent over here at Merchant Alamo, right next to Pietro's number 1. Yeah. Oh yeah, their lasagna, it's killer. Oh my God, it's so great. Anyways, it's very tactical. And then what I'm going to tell them is I'm going to say, hey, listen, so you've probably seen property values are going up and down a lot lately. In fact, they're going more up than down. And I farm your area. I consider myself an expert of the Meadowlands subdivision. So with property values going up as much as they have, I'm just trying to I'm trying to dial in exactly what these houses are worth. So I was wondering if I could do, it's called a broker price opinion, where I'll come to your house, take some pictures. Then I'm going to go determine what the value of your property is, current market conditions. What I'm going to do is pull up other recent sales, and I'm going to do adds and subtractions based on the amenities of those properties to determine where your house is, and look at market conditions, which is appreciation at 3.5% per month. So anyways, it helps me out because now I know better what properties are going for in the Meadowlands. It's good for you because these things generally go for $100 to $150. I'm going to give it to you free of charge because it helps me and it helps you. So you'll see what your property's worth. So would it be cool if we did something like this? I've done this, by the way, 6 times. It works every time, every single time. And they go, yeah, sure. Because I'm saying what's in it for me, what's in it for you. I am Brian. I am local. I'm next to Pietro's. We both like it. I just want to know, this is my area of expertise. Your house happens to fall in it. And by the way, aren't you really kind of curious what your house is worth too? Hell yeah, I am. So they say yes at an alarming rate. It's north of 50% of anyone you call will say yes to this. Now, once you do the BPO, you shock them by showing them what their house is actually worth. Okay. And then what I'm also doing is I'm going to show them, if they sold the house, how much equity they'd be able to pocket. And if they put that equity into a forward purchase of a larger, better house, the houses it would get them. And then I'm also working with a lender to go ahead and pull up what payments on that forward purchase would look like. And what it really amounts to is you could, for what you're spending on a monthly basis, live in a house that's bigger in a better neighborhood and a better school district. It sells itself. You don't sell anything. You just give it to them and you say, hey, You have any questions on anything, just feel free to give me a buzz anytime. Here's my card, Brian Stevens, ABC Mortgage. Hope this was totally helpful for you. By the way, ain't that one beautiful over there? It sells itself. So we've taken the sales out of the entire process. Okay, here's the problem. If you're going to, where are you going to get your list from? If you're going to go to any of these sites where you can purchase leads or purchase phone numbers and stuff like that, the only thing that you can get right now, as far as I can tell, is pre-foreclosures. Well, once it's a pre-foreclosure list, 50,000 real estate agents are working it.
Yeah.
So you've lost the opportunity, haven't you? Because now your sales pitch is diluted amongst everybody else because it's a pre-foreclosure and it's public knowledge. Here's what I would do. Well, actually, here's what I'm going to do. Every real estate agent should have a farm area. They absolutely I don't care if it's where you live. It's better if it is. But you need to have your area of expertise in your community because that's where your bread and butter is. It's where you're farming. I mean, I would do newsletters. I would do everything. My farm would be my baby. That is my database. You can pick your database right now as a real estate agent. Just go grab a map of your city, get a red marker and circle it and say, this is now officially my database. That's your farm. What I would do is I would go to, I'd work with my title company. If they'll give you the information, they'll give it to me. So I'm assuming they'll give it to you. But I would go ahead and I would find 10 properties in my farm. I don't care if they're owner occupied or non-owner occupied. I'd find 10 houses in my farm and I would start with those. I'd find out who's in those houses. I would even go knock on the darn doors. Okay. I would start my BPO prior to having a conversation with these folks. What I would do is I'd go knock on the door and say, hey, listen, my name is Brian Stevens with ABC Mortgage, ABC Real Estate. This is my farm territory with, Keller Williams or whoever it is. This is my farm area, my area of expertise, and I'm going through and trying to dial in values. I've been looking at your property as one of these. Give them the card, show them that you're a pro. I got some comps on your property over here. And you'll notice that this is a really nice comp over here. That's going for $485,000. This one went for $465,000. This one went for $520,000. So these are comparable sales to your house. But in order to figure out exactly what your house is worth, I need to see the amenities on here. Again, I'm a local professional real estate agent. If I can grab some pictures here, I'm going to do a broker priced opinion on your property. Again, helping me be the expert of the Meadowlands. I'm going to give it to you free of charge. Do you mind if I grab a couple of pictures of your house to show them that you're already working on it? Just show it to them. Oh yeah, that would be great. I mean, all we're doing is breaking down the barriers from turning no's into yeses. Mm-hmm. And then I would go and finish up that BPO, and I would go. And by the way, on the ones that are non-owner occ, I would then go ahead and do a title search and find out who actually owns that property. Here's one of the biggest areas in real estate that's growing right now. 50% of all investment properties are owned by individuals who own only one investment property. Isn't that a shock? I was shocked by that number. So half of all investment properties are just by somebody who basically moved out of their entry-level house that they bought, moved up and just kept the first one and started renting it out. Those houses right now, more so than any facet of the housing market right now, are selling faster. They're selling super, super fast because what's happening is a lot of these folks, if I own one other property, I'm generally dependent upon gathering those rents in order to make that mortgage payment. Mm-hmm. I'm not a hedge fund who's got billions of dollars and it's all funny money to me. No, I'm like a guy who's got one house, and if I don't get that rent payment, it's going to be really hard for me to make that mortgage payment. And there are more people not making rent payments in this country than there are not making mortgage payments in this country right now. And a lot of those are these investment properties, these non-owner occ properties, folks who own just one house. And so they're starting to sell these in droves right now. There is more motivation for landlords who own 1 to 2 properties to sell those investment properties more so than their primary residence. And there's a huge thirst for that right now. So I would not excuse the investment property if I'm going to take 10 in whatever my farm is. I'm going to do the same type of thing, but rather than knock on that door and talk to that tenant, I'm going to contact the landlord and explain to them what I'm doing, saying, hey, I'd like to get inside the house so I can go ahead and take some pictures to see exactly what your investment is worth today. Would you like to know what your investment is worth? If you did this, if you did a farm of 10 every 3 or 4 days, and you just kept this thing going, you made this part of your daily, weekly, monthly activities, you're going to find listings in there. you will absolutely find listings. And this is what I would do if I was a real estate agent today.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a great point with the move up buyers or people that keep the last house. And if they know, well, sometimes it's like kind of like, going to the gym. I want to lose weight. I want to look good. I want them 6-pack abs for the summer, right? Then you start working and going to the gym. You're like, well, this kind of sucks. And I'm sore and I got to wake up and altering my life. Same thing as being, just almost same mindset of being a landlord. Oh, I'm going to build wealth. This is going to be great. Oh, I got to get a renter in there. I got to make sure that they're making the payments. Oh, they're reporting something's wrong. So now I got to get it fixed. But this isn't as fun as I thought. All the little videos on YouTube make it look so easy. Oh, now you can give me X amount for this house and I can unload it and be done with it. Okay. So that makes total sense. And I love that idea. And thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it is. And what we're, like I said, we've talked about this before, but what we're doing is, I always liken it to my sales approaches. Remember in 8th grade when you went to your first dance? And like, you just basically stood there against the wall, kind of looking around. Nobody was dancing. Everybody was just kind of looking, and it required that first person to go out there and get on the dance floor, right? Mm-hmm. And you'd basically sit against the wall until somebody asked you to dance. And then you would, you know what I mean? That type of thing. Marketing in real estate so often is sitting against the wall, wait for somebody to come and ask you to dance. No. My type of marketing is we're getting off the wall and we're going to drag people onto that dance floor. Yeah. Since we know anecdotally, since we know statistically from surveys that have been done time and time again, week after week, month after month, that there is a huge desire to list and sell homes, especially with our summer months upon us right now, coming out of, a once in a lifetime pandemic, we are going to see something of a blossom with listing opportunities. All I'm saying is rather than baiting your hook and throw it and waiting for somebody to come to you, let's proactively get in front of people whose houses we know are going to get listed in the next 6 months. But let's get to them before they even know it, because then you don't have to compete against the realtor to the right and the left of you. See, we did this last week. When somebody makes their home buying intentions known, when they go to Zillow, when they go to your IDX site, when they walk into a brick and mortar, when they talk to their neighbor, oh yeah, go use my gal, go use my guy. These are all ways of making their home buying intentions known. And your marketing is all designed to ensnare people once they have already made their home buying intentions known. The problem is that's what everybody else's marketing is all built around too. So when somebody announces I'm selling my house by going to sites, by doing research, by having conversations, by walking into real estate, when they do this, they're getting ensnared by a multitude of different marketing pieces. When you have somebody who's going to go to Zillow and say, yeah, boy, that house looks kind of cool. I'll go check that out. And then I fill out that information. My personal information is getting sold off to 3 real estate agents. Mm-hmm. Then my information is going to be sold off on a secondary market that sells personal information to a broker. And then that broker is going to take my information months down the road and sell it at a discounted rate to 3 more real estate agents. And then even further down the road, my information is going to be sold off to another broker, but now it's so old, it's going to be discounted even further, where it's then going to be put into a call center to find out who still is interested in buying a house, who hasn't bought a house. Then my information is once again going to be sold off to a real estate agent. That's what happens to our personal information when we make our home buying intentions known. So you as a real estate agent, you have to find a way to be the one that stands out, in this whirlwind of selling of personal data. When you get to that person before they make their home buying intentions known, before they go to Zillow, before they go to an IDX, before they talk to their neighbor, it's you and just you. Now the only person I'm competing against is me. Here's my whole thing, guys. Everything is a leverage ratio. Everything is a stat. If I'm going to take my marketing and put it up against 50 real estate agents, that means I have a 1 in 50 chance of landing that client. Okay. But by the way, most of the time, you don't even know when your marketing is working for you, because you might actually put a marketing piece out. Maybe you're putting one of your listings on your timeline on Facebook. Maybe you're doing that. Maybe somebody looked at it and then said, wow, that's a really cute house. And then they went and called a real estate agent their neighbor talked to them about. That was your marketing failing. And then conversation with the neighbor, that was marketing working, right? You don't even know 90% of the time when your marketing is failing for you. You don't even know because it's failing because you're not having the conversation with the borrower. Thing is, when you get to that person beforehand, You don't have to worry about the person to the left or the right of you. And here's what I do know. If you can have a conversation with 1 in 50 homeowners, you're going to convert about 20 of those 50 homeowners. If I'm going to wait and compete against 50 real estate agents, I have a 1 in 50 chance. I like a 20 out of 50 chance or a 2 in 5 chance.
Yeah, proactive is always better than
winning,
reactive.
rather than a 1/50th% chance of winning.
Sure. Yeah, proactive is always better than reactive, but the proactive approach takes energy and time, and sometimes people just need a little swift kick in the ass to get going and doing it. So lastly, because we're going a little long here, there was another bill that was presented, a $15 tax credit, $15,000 tax credit.
Yeah.
Do we really need, because Maxine Waters came out with the $25,000 one, which that's a whole separate discussion. But here we go with another tax credit for buyers that can't find houses that can't afford the current house. I mean, should we really allocate those funds towards something other than giving it to people that can't afford the house, like maybe making it more affordable to build more homes? Or
stupid beyond belief. The only thing more dumb than a $15,000 tax credit right now is a $25,000 tax credit. It has no place in this market. It is so ridiculous and so out of touch with the realities on the ground that it just really makes you wonder what world our elected politicians are living in.
Well, they want to get real.
It's insane.
They want to get reelected is what it is. They want to paint the picture of what they've done for everybody and give more free money so I get your vote in 2 years.
That's the only thing that makes any type of sense, marginal sense, is there, it's a chance for them to, get up there on their bully pulpit and talk about everything they're doing and how much their competitors aren't doing, I suppose. Just dumb beyond belief. Absolutely remarkably stupid. Again, what did we figure out? I can't even remember the numbers on this one. I want to say that when you're looking about the cost of inflation as it pertains to building materials and labor, in addition to the average cost of permits, right now, I think on average it's adding like $130,000 to new construction on any individual house in this country. $130,000 on average. This includes North Dakota and Mississippi. They're screwing up the curve, and it's still $130,000. Reality check, 10 years ago, you could buy a house for $130,000 in a lot of markets around the country. Now we have that as the cost associated through materials, through labor, and through permits and taxes. It's insane. What we need to do is we need to find a way to get that $130,000 down to about nothing. And we can get it down to nothing by waiving some of these ridiculous environmental impact reports and some of these permits right now, build stamped out cookie cutter 1,700 square foot homes, and offer those cash incentives to new home builders, incentivize them to build something other than a McMansion. Not everybody needs a 3,200 square foot house. Let me tell you this right now. My family is shrinking. At our height, we were a family of, we're still a family of 5. But because I haven't choked the life out of my son yet. My daughter just crashed our brand new car. Maybe I'll get rid of her too.
Awesome.
Just kidding. 2 for 1.
2 for 1. Get rid
exactly. So, but at the height, I was a family of 5. The biggest house I ever lived in, I think, was probably 2,100 square feet, 2,200 square feet. And that was too big. It's too much house. I mean, it wasn't too much, but it wasn't like, I didn't need anything bigger. Now my family size, now I'm down to 3. I got a daughter moving to San Diego, and I got my son who's already moved out. I honestly, I'm thinking, where's that 800 square foot house? I am dead serious. Where's that little tiny house? And I don't think I'm alone. Look at the tiny house movement. I think what we need to do is we need to start in droves building entry-level homes and give those tax credits to new home builders to make this a reality, not only for first-time home buyers, but as people are getting geriatric like myself. And trust me, son, you ain't too far behind me. You're going to blink and you're going to be my age. I think there's also a lot of people who like the idea of the move down. When you take the entry-level home out of the food chain, you break the food chain. Here's how the food chain works. The krill gets eaten by the shrimp. The shrimp gets eaten by the little fish. The little fish gets eaten by the bigger fish. The eagle eats the bigger fish. Brian shoots the eagle, has an eagle burger sandwich, and that's the food chain, right? It's the same thing. You buy an entry-level home. Then you realize that equity, you sell the home, you move up, you buy a bigger house. You sell your house to that new family, you know, the family you were 6 years earlier before you had your kids who crash your cars. Marley, we ain't done yet. And then you move up and get the bigger house, and then they move up, and then they move up. And then, of course, then you get older and we ratchet down. It's a circle of life. It's the food chain. We have quit building our base level, entry level home. It has become impossible, a veritable impossibility for a first-time home buyer to enter a market. As I told you, a civil servant cannot buy a house in the market and that they're serving right now. Your entry-level civil servant, you know, that person right out of college or that person who's got that great job over at the refinery, that person can't buy a house anymore. They can't do it. So when you break that food chain, the whole thing breaks, essentially. So we have to get back to that entry-level home. We really honestly do. It will solve our inventory problems if we do it the right way. It will bring affordability back so people can realize the dream of home ownership. And I got to tell you this too. A lot of the younger generations, there's a lot of stats out there that say, well, you know, everybody right now who's 24 years old is upwardly mobile. They don't want to buy a house. They want to live in downtown San Francisco. They want, you know, that zone commercial residential area that, you know, no, that's not true. In fact, if you look at most studies from these younger kids, as they start to get older, as was the case with me and you, yeah, they do want to set roots. They do want to own something. They are going to have families. And, you know, and so the way for us to realize the American dream, and that's what buying a house is, guys, it still is that. The way to do it is to fix the food chain and not only ask, but demand, require, and incentivize our new home builders to build that 1,1700 square foot house and do it all across the country.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm pretty close with some builders, and they said that they cannot make a single dollar on what you're describing, and it's unfortunate.
They can't. No, we know that $130,000. That's think about this for those of you who aren't getting this or figuring this out. If I have $130,000 in, you know, and my profit margin is only going to begin after that $130,000 is absorbed, right? And then I'm going to get a portion of anything above $130,000. Well, I'm going to try to build a $900,000 house because that my profits begin after my hard costs end, right? So yeah, the more expensive the house right off the bat, the better off I'm going to be. But if we make those hard costs $20,000 or $10,000, frankly, I think we should take the 15 and the 25,000 that we're talking about giving to first-time home buyers who don't need it, give those to the builders, you know, put them give them an actual cash surplus to build entry-level homes, put money back in their pocket, and you watch, everybody will start building 1,700 square foot houses.
Sure.
That's where that money needs to be spent.
Yeah. Well, let's start writing our letters.
How big's your house? How big's your house?
Right around 3,000 square foot.
How many kids do you have? You got 14 kids?
We got 2 kids, a mother-in-law, a wife, myself, a little dog, and I was just notified this morning that there's going to be another dog coming in about 4 weeks. So, yay! I had 3 pet rocks as well. You know.
Well, you need to get yourself a camper, man, so you can.
Well, man, this is always fun talking to you. It's a pleasure going back and forth and, you know, picking each other's brains and just listen to you go on and on and on. But I do appreciate you. And it does not look like we have any questions in the chat. So I think we're good for right now. We went 48 minutes. So
cool. And then and by the way, what I'll do is when I am going to put together that, I'm put together a webinar or, you know, a Zoom meeting to explain to real estate agents how this process works a little bit more closely. And then what I'd like to do, and we'll talk about this later, and this is what I did last time, is you get like 6 or 7 markets, you open up a Zoom, and you have 6 or 7 different offices. It's kind of like draft night for the NFL. How is Tampa doing? How's St. Louis doing? What's going on up in Seattle? How's the Bay Area doing? And then what we do is we all get our call centers together, and we put it all up on a Zoom. We all the realtors and lenders get to know each other, and we hammer this thing one night, and it's super, super fun. So let's in the next week or so, let's put that thing together.
For sure. Yeah. Many hands make light work. So I love that idea.
Right on.
We'll see you later.
All right, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Ciao.